Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And I have a fabulous lady here today, Ann Clark. She's a PhD and an RN is with us. And welcome to High Road to Humanity, Ann.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
I'm excited you're here. Now, let me give you a little idea of what we're going to be talking about today, you guys. She has a book and it's called Healing from Great Loss. Now, this book offers a path to healing so that you can set a new course for your life after enduring a great loss. Revealing that we are souls who have incarnated here on earth to learn and grow towards enlightenment, author Ann Clark shares dozens of stories that illustrate how you can cope with grief, reconnect to your inner self, work through guilt, and receive assistance from the spiritual realm. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation today. Before we get into it, though, there's a couple things I want to say. First of all, it is February 1st, and happy Lunar New Year 2022. It's the year of the tiger. And so really quick, I just want to, and I've got my red on, and it says you're supposed to wear red, so it's lucky today. Even if you have, they say red underwear, it's okay. I thought that was funny. So the year of the ox brought vaccines to a global pandemic, and many hope the Lunar New Year will bring healing and joy with the year of the tiger. So the Lunar New Year is an international holiday. It's celebrated in many Asian countries, but not all. People may know the holiday as Chinese New Year, Vietnam, or South Korea. United States is also home to some celebrations. Over 1.5 billion people across the world will take part in the festivities. So in this day, for many Asian countries, Lunar New Year is perhaps the equivalent of like our Thanksgiving or Christmas. So they say that there's going to be more prosperity this year and things are going to be a little bit better. So let's just hope for that. What do you think, Ian?
That would be great.
I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm like, hey, it's a new year. We're starting over. My birthday was this month too, or last month. And I always feel like that's when you start over too, on your new year.
Happy belated birthday.
Well, thank you. Hey, listen, I'm glad you're here today. And I want you to tell the audience your story. This is a wonderful book. I want to say, and I was telling Ann before the show, she really gives a lot of information, like straightforward information about what it's like before we come here and what it's like when we die. But first of all, would you mind telling your story of what happened to your daughter? She was very beautiful, Stephanie, and how this all came about.
Yes. Well, my daughter Stephanie was out with friends one night. She returned alone to a dark parking lot and she was attacked, raped, robbed, and left for dead. And it was a very traumatic experience for all of us. She didn't do well after that. And so finally, I brought her back home to live with me again. And we were bringing her back on the road to healing. She was doing really quite well. And she was thinking about going back to work and getting into things again. And so I decided to go ahead and have knee surgery that I'd been putting off from my old tennis days. Right. And I was in the hospital when this happened. We were not able to reach her one day, and she was found on her bed, unresponsive. And the paramedics came and she was pronounced dead at the scene. We didn't know what had happened for a while, but later we learned that she had died of a drug overdose.
Oh, goodness.
So I was shocked, devastated, and just thought my world had totally crumbled.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that, losing a child. Now, how old was she at the time?
She was an adult. She was in her early 40s.
Okay. What a horrible thing to have happened to her. And she never really got over it, is what happened, pretty much.
That's exactly it.
What a horrible thing. And all these things are going on in our world today, and people don't realize how it affects people energetically. So after the loss, you went to grief counseling. You went to a community grief center. I mean, you did some stuff. You didn't just, talk about that.
Yes, I'm an RN and know a lot about death.
Mhm.
I'm also a Michael Newton Institute Life Between Lives Facilitator. So I have worked with clients who I take through a death in a past life and then into the spirit realm. But even with all this background, it was devastating for me to lose my daughter. Our
Right.
human self really needs to grieve no matter how much understanding we have of death in the spirit world.
Right. Rewind a little bit. You talk in the book, and I want to talk about this, what a connection a parent has with a child. And when she died, you felt it. Would you talk about that a little bit? Because that's common from what I understand.
Yes, the kind of shared death experience I had is not as common, but yes, it is common. I was hospitalized and it was about 11 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And I suddenly started feeling weak, nauseated, and a little dizzy.
Mhm.
So I sat down in my chair and was going to call the nurse and find out what was going on when suddenly I realized that I couldn't breathe, couldn't move, uh, felt totally helpless. It felt as if I was dying. And the interesting thing about it is, as I realized, oh, I'm dying, I didn't feel any fear. It was just like, oh, this is happening. I think this episode went on for about 15 minutes, no longer than that. And suddenly it just left as soon as it had come. And I was back to being completely normal. The nurse came in, completely checked me over, and there didn't seem to be anything amiss. So I just kind of forgot about it until I learned about my daughter's death. And the coroner pinpointed her time of death at about the exact same time that I had my experience.
Right. And then afterwards, you realize that this has happened to other people
Yes.
as well. Yeah. I thought that was really interesting. So what in, this is a wonderful book. And I just have to say, like I said before, you're straightforward with a lot of things that you say. Um, what insights have you really gained from this loss? Because you talk about that. You talk about her soul's choice to go home and things like that.
Yes. Well, I was reminded through this loss that we come here with a specific purpose in mind. And when we've completed what we came here to do, we're going to go back home to the spirit world. And my daughter had completed what she came here to do, and it was her time to go. Death is not random. Death occurs when our soul is ready to go back home, and it was her time. So I learned that we may not expect it, we may not know it's coming, but there was purpose, and it was what was supposed to happen at that time.
Right. Nothing's accidental. Now, you talk about being a life between lives facilitator. Explain to the audience what that is exactly.
Yes, I think most people now have heard of past lives based on the concept of reincarnation,
Mhm.
where we live one life after another here on earth.
Right.
But what life between lives is what do we do in between lives? What we do in between lives is we go back to the spirit realm, and we don't just rest there. We lead active lives there. We continue to learn in the life between lives. We continue to grow. We have a soul family. We have activities. We travel through the universe. So we have a rich life in between lives. And what life between lives is a session in which we use hypnosis to take you back to your life between lives and get in contact with your soul.
So that's how you obtained all this information so you could confirm. Because I've heard so many, we're going to talk about some of this stuff. We've got about 3 minutes before we go to commercial break. But I want to read this. This is a quote from your book. Before we come to Earth, we plan each life carefully. We decide what lessons we want to learn, who we will be, and where we will be born. We choose our family, and we have a primary guide. And so as you took people back, I guess you've been doing this for a while, you started to confirm these things. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Michael Newton did his work back in the early 90s,
Mm-hmm.
established the Michael Newton Institute. There now are over 200 members worldwide, and over 65,000 of these sessions have been conducted
Wow.
with amazing similarity with the basics of our life on earth and our life in the spirit realm.
So when you take somebody back, they can find out why they're here. Their life purpose is basically what you're
Yes.
doing,
Yes.
which changes everything, because then you look at everything a little bit differently when you know what your life purpose is.
Yes. And you can also find out who others in your life might have been in one of your past lives.
I see. I know we all come here and we're in the dark and we're not allowed to know. And I feel like as I grow spiritually, I'm just talking to you as from one person to another here, then I start to learn more because I'm connecting with my higher self, and the stuff that I used to know, I'm getting that information from my higher self. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. We
Okay.
all carry our higher self inside of us, and our higher self is always whispering to us, always giving us information, always helping us and guiding us. But we get so busy and distracted with life that we may not hear this still, small, quiet voice inside.
Let's talk about that more when we come back. Her book is called Healing from Great Loss, you guys, and it's by Ann J. Clark. She's a PhD. She's an RN. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Ann J. Clark. Her book is called Healing from Great Loss, Facing Pain and Grief to Recover Your Authentic Self. And Ann, what a fantastic book. There was a story in the beginning, you are an RN, that you told about a girl who was out of her body. Talk about that. Do you mind telling that story?
Yes. I was working in an emergency room on weekends when I was finishing my master's degree, and a woman came in from a horrendous car accident with no vital signs. She essentially came in what we would call dead on arrival. But we took her back to one of the treatment rooms and worked frantically to try and resuscitate her. It took us about 45 minutes, but we were successful. And so I wheeled her on the cart back into one of our rooms in the ER, waiting for someone to come and take her upstairs to her hospital room. And she started telling me that she watched us the whole time that we were working on her. She was amazingly accurate about what she told me. She recalled actual incidents that had happened. I thought about it for a minute, but I was very skeptical. And I thought, oh, she must have watched it on TV, or maybe she's a professional herself and knows about this. So I kind of discounted it. She realized I was discounting it and became a little upset with me and said, "You don't believe me, do you?" And actually, I didn't. But as she was wheeled off, she called back to me while I was facing her. "You have a big runner all the way down the back of your stocking." And I thought, that's ridiculous. New pantyhose tonight, and there's no way you could have seen me because you were always on a cart. Wasn't until the end of the shift when one of my colleagues said to me, "What happened to your stocking?" I looked back and there was an 1.5 inch runner all the way down the back.
And then you knew.
Chills.
Most nurses know. After a while, don't they realize? I'm sure they do.
From then on, I can literally report thousands
Yeah.
of cases like this.
Yeah. Yeah. As I read your book, I was reading it last night. Something really hit me, and I wanted to ask you about it. And I'm going to read what I wrote down, a quote from the book. It says, "We do not make these decisions about the life we will live by ourselves, as there are many souls involved in the planning process." That kind of hit me because, and I want to know what you know about this, because it wasn't really up to me completely on what I came down here to learn. There were other people who were basically telling me what I needed to come down and learn. Is that right?
Well, we always make the choice of what we come down here to learn ourselves, but we have help in
Okay.
figuring out what that should be. We all have a primary guide and perhaps other guides that help us.
Right.
We also all have a soul family. And our soul family knows us well and helps us decide also. Plus, we're in various groups in the spirit realm. We're in groups of learning. We have classmates that are learning the same things. They help us. We also have jobs on the other side. And those we work with help us to decide what it is we want to do when we come down here as well.
Now, I help a lot of people who get stuck go to the other side. I'm a psychic. I don't know if you know that or not. And I have clear cognizance. And I'm from the angelic realm, actually. And so they see my light and I send them. But I see a lot of times they get stuck in between. And then I see people who I've sent come back. What do you know about that? Why are they doing that?
Well, there's
You know what I'm talking about now, Ann? You
Yes.
do, don't you? Okay, thank you.
I definitely do know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
There's something that occurs when we incarnate or are born on earth, and that is called incarnation amnesia. That is that we forget all about who we really are and why we came here. If we didn't, this wouldn't be a very authentic experience. So we've lost a lot of those memories. And so when it's time for us to go back to the spirit realm, it sometimes takes us a while to remember those things. And at first, we may be confused. Also, we may be very attached to something on earth and not really want to leave. We might feel that we have some unfinished business,
Okay.
or we might just plain be confused. But sometimes we don't go right back. We may be stuck for a while, but our guides and our angels are always there for us and working to help us find our way.
I think so too. And I'm always here because I have to tell you, I've had so many people come, unexpectedly, surprised in the last few years, that have been, I think, stuck for a while. And I almost feel like they waited till I was able to know what I was supposed to do. It was a weird thing. I don't know, some people call us psycho pumps or whatever. Then we get people to the other side. But then, there's only so much we can do. And a lot of times people are afraid. I just want to say this, and I want to know your opinion. I feel like a lot of times people are afraid like they're going to be judged, and that's why they don't want to go.
Yes, one of the wonderful things about the spirit realm is that we're never judged. There's
Right.
never any judgment. There's just gentle guidance to help us learn and grow.
What's been the most surprising thing that you found out from doing this work and doing these regressions with people about the other side?
Well, I'm continually amazed by each session I do. Seems I learn something new from each one. But I would say the biggest thing is that I realize how important it is to try and get in touch with our inner self, that spark of our soul that we carry within that provides us guidance while we're here on earth. We could make so much more of our lives on earth if we receive this guidance. And also, I'm amazed by the guidance that is available from the spiritual realm, from spirit guides, angels, wise beings that can really help us live our best life.
Yeah, and we just need to ask. And I think people don't understand that if you just ask, they will help you. That's what I've learned. What about you?
Yes, I definitely agree. Choice
Mhm.
is always left up to us
Right.
as what we do, but we can get a tremendous amount of guidance from all these entities. And what I would say is we don't ever want to ask, what should I do? Because that's up to us. But we can ask, what would happen if I did X? Or what would be the benefits of going into this direction versus going in that direction? So we can ask for information that will help us make our own decisions.
Right. Now, since your daughter has passed, you connect with her.
Yes.
Talk about that. When was the first time? And tell the audience, we've got about 4 minutes or so before the
I
break.
did feel her right away. I just felt her around me. My first contact with her was through a dream, and it was so real that I can remember it vividly to this day.
Okay.
And then I went through a procedure of learning how to connect with her. And even before I was going to do it officially, she came to me anyway as I was walking out the door one day. She used to call me Hoodoo Guru.
Oh, I read this.
That I did. And I was walking out the patio, out the door to the patio, where I had planned to connect with her later. And all of a sudden, I heard this stream of thoughts coming into my mind. And I heard Hoodoo Guru. It brought me up short. I sat down and I said, Stephanie, is that you? And in her usual sassy way, she said, well, who do you think it'd be? And that was our first conversation. And since then, I've been able to connect with her regularly, and we have actual conversations. And one of the big things I've been able to do is I realized that I perhaps wasn't always the best mother I could have been. There were times I thought about it later, I could have done that differently. And I was able to ask her about that. And she said, oh, don't be ridiculous. It all worked out fine. Nothing to forgive.
Now, what is she doing on the other side?
She is learning right now. She's going through the life she lived here on earth, and she is learning about all the ways that she had some poor attitudes, the way she had some blocks, and the way she had fear that she didn't need to have. So she's doing that right now.
Yeah, so they help, and that's what I've always understood too, that you kind of almost go to a spa where they help you clear all that stuff out so that you can get back to maybe your more of your natural soul. Do you kind of get that
Yes.
vibe too?
Yes, definitely. For those who have perhaps had an illness or been in a serious accident, there's some time where you're just allowed to rest, recuperate, your energy is regenerated. So there is some time, and there always is a life review. Once you go back to the spirit world, you go back over the life you've just lived and learn from it. You learn about the very good things you did and about those things that perhaps you need a little more learning on.
I'd have done it different. All right, we'll talk more about this when we come back from commercial break. You guys, I'm here today with Ann Clark. Her book is Healing from Great Loss. This is Nancy You're Out. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy You're Out, and this is High Road to Humanity. And I'm here today with Ann Clark, and we're talking about loss, and we're talking about healing. And I know you have some great stories to tell us. Is there another one that you've got that you'd like to share with us?
Yes. One of the things that I've realized in my practice is a lot of us are afraid to die. We don't know what it will be like, and we're kind of fearful.
Right.
But I'd like to tell the story of my life between life regression.
Oh.
It was back in medieval times, and I was actually living in a castle. I had become old after living my life, didn't have much energy left, but I was out one night walking in the stars, just enjoying the evening. And suddenly I felt a little bit weak. And so I sat down on one of the stone benches around the castle. And I just felt like I was going to go to sleep. And the next thing I knew, I was looking down on my body. Death is so easy. It is just like walking from one room into the other. It's a very easy experience when it actually happens.
Then do you immediately see your guides and go with them? Because I've heard so many different stories from people. Some people say they see their guides or they see family members. Other people say they shoot right up and they're up in space. I mean, what do you hear? Do you hear different ones?
Yes,
Yeah.
varied experiences. And you might have someone right there to meet you during severe illnesses, terminal illnesses. Often family members will be there that are in spirit
Okay.
with the person during their final days. And when they do pass over, it's just a matter of going with them. Others might die suddenly in an accident, and there might be someone there to meet them and help them understand what had just happened. And still others might just shoot right back up to the spirit realm. It's different. But I've learned that about half of my clients stick around on earth for about a week or two.
Oh,
Many of them want to go to their funeral or their memorial service. They may want to say goodbye to people that they haven't seen for a while. They may want to go back and visit places on earth they particularly enjoyed or feel that they had some unfinished business. So they might stay here for about a week or two before going on to the other side.
and that's okay to do that. You don't have to just cruise. You can say those goodbyes. That's really interesting to know that, you know. What else is has your daughter told you that really shocked you or surprised you about the afterlife?
Well, one of the things she reminded me of, I knew a little bit about it, but she reminded me that after someone does die, they stay close to their loved ones initially and try to comfort them.
Oh,
And also, she let me know that once someone has died, their body has died, their spirit has not died.
right.
They want they want to remain close to us, and they want to remain part of our lives. And they're with us often for the first couple of years after their body has died and they've returned to the spirit world. After that, not as frequently, but they can come to us anytime we need them, and they will visit often.
Yeah.
And birthdays are not significant on the other side to them, but if we do something special on those days, they will come.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Now, my sister has passed, and I always hear a special song. She was a singer and she played the piano, and so I know when she's around. Same thing with my dad. I know when he's around. Same thing with my mom. I can tell when they're around, and I say, "Oh, hey, what are you doing?" So I know when they're with, and that's kind of a cool thing. As you connect more with, I connect every day with the divine, and so I think because I do that, and I pray and all of that good stuff. I think the more you do it, you have the ability, don't you agree, to
Yes.
connect with those?
Yes, it gets easier, it gets better. And one of the things that surprised me with my daughter is I came home one day really upset because one of my projects was not going well at all. And I was just really feeling discouraged and tired. And I sat down on the couch in sort of a dejected manner. And all of a sudden, I felt this familiar warmth and I felt this soothing. And then I began to hear comforting words from my daughter. She was there to help me. She knew that I'd had a hard day, and she had come to give me some comfort.
Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, and see, that love continues on. That love energy continues on, and it's not lost. And I think that's wonderful and comforting for people to know, and that they can have a relationship if they choose to. A lot of people journal or write automatic writing, to get the information. I've had different people on the show who've connected to their loved ones in that way. Have you had people do that as well?
Absolutely. Journaling is an excellent way to make a connection. In my book, I give a long list of things that you can do to connect with your loved one who has transitioned to the other side.
Right.
And also, I give a lot of suggestions for how to connect with your spirit guides and angels on the other side.
Yeah, it's always good. And I just want to say this, and I want you to explain to the audience. I talk about the angels all the time, and we all have a guardian angel. And, all we have to do is ask. They're right there with us. If if we knew that our angel was standing right here, which it is, which she is, everybody would act a little bit differently. Don't you agree?
I definitely agree. Yes.
But I just want everybody to know that your angel's right there. And all you have to do is ask, and they will start to communicate with you, but they won't talk to you unless you make that effort to communicate. Do you want to talk about that a little
Yes.
bit?
And they will never tell you what to do. They will just give you information that will help you
Mhm,
decide what would be best for you to do. So,
mhm.
yes, they are always present. And also, we plan difficult, challenging experiences in our lives. We do that because that's the way we grow and that's the way we learn. In school, typically, we're given information and then we're tested on it. But in Earth School, which is what we're in when we come here to Earth to live, is that we will be given experiences that will be a test. And from that, we'll learn more about ourselves and more about how to interact with others and how to love others, how to be compassionate, and how to grow.
Right. We're all here evolving, and, I want to talk to you about the ascension a little bit. We've got a couple more minutes before we go to break, but my goal is to help everybody, or to do what I can, maybe be an example. Everybody's got to do it themselves. I know that everybody's got to go within and figure it out. But I feel the ascension is going to happen in the next couple of years. What do you feel, and what do you know about that? And have you gotten any messages from your daughter regarding the ascension?
It's interesting. I haven't actually asked my daughter about that, but I'm just thinking that I could. But during some of my sessions, what I have learned is that right now on Earth, we're going through a transition to a
Right.
higher dimension.
Right.
And there are many things that are happening because of that. One of the things that was very comforting to me is I had felt just some physical symptoms like dizziness and some
Mhm.
other symptoms
Mhm.
recently that didn't seem to be connected to anything concrete. And so during one of my sessions, I learned that many of us are feeling some physical symptoms as the vibration on the earth is increasing and we're going through a transition to another dimension.
Well, yeah, because the vibration's changing. And I will say I'm extremely sensitive. I'm an empath. And I like, even when the weather changes, it, messes with me. I don't know what you were getting, but I've gotten a lot of headaches when this happens, different things like that. What were you experiencing?
I was experiencing some headaches, some dizziness,
Mhm.
um, some not feeling comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Okay. Well, because we're all energetic beings, and that's something else we have to realize. We are energy. We're made up of energy. And, it's really cool that you talk in the book, and we only got a couple more minutes. We can talk more about this on our next segment. But what I really loved in your book is you have a whole section on engaging in maximum self-care. And I just think it's so important. Do you want to talk about that a little bit before we go to
Yes.
break?
I want to say to begin with that one of the main purposes of our learning is to learn love. And that love starts with ourselves. We need to love and care for ourselves. And when we experience a great loss, whether it be loss of a loved one, a loss of a career we really treasured, loss of our health, or any other loss, we are in need of self care and self love. And no one can give it to us the way we need it because we know exactly where those spots are that need comforting and soothing. And by giving ourselves maximum self care, we will grow immeasurably in being able to love not only ourselves, but, but others as
The
well.
others, yeah. Let's talk more about it when we come back. Guys, the book is Healing from Great Loss. It's by Ann Clark. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, it's Nancy. You're out in It's High Road to Humanity. I'm here on my last segment with Ann Clark, and we're having a wonderful conversation. And I'm asking Ann what she thinks about different things on the commercial break. But Ann, talk about, and what I ask you is, I've learned that they control what happens here in our situations. And if we're in a bad situation, they can pull us out of it. Talk what you know about this.
Yes. Yes, our guides do try to get us out of situations that are unhealthy and not good for us. I tell a story in my book about a woman who was in a relationship with a boyfriend who wasn't really good for her, who was really preventing her from growing, although she didn't see this. She also had a mother who was very demanding and really didn't give her the time or the space to do any growing. And she was completely caught up in meeting her boyfriend's needs and her mother's needs, and had little time left over for herself and her own growth. What happened to her quite suddenly was her mother died, and that was a big transition for her, very sad. And at first, she didn't really realize the freedom that it was giving her to grow. The next thing that happened was her boyfriend told her he didn't really love her and he left her. And all of a sudden, she found herself without her mother, without her boyfriend that had taken up most of her life. And she felt totally adrift. But during our Life Between Lives session, the guides told her that this situation had provided her with the freedom that she needed to grow beyond the situation that she had currently been in, and that there was a really good side to what had happened to her. This gives me a good opportunity to say that my book is not for you when you've just had your loss. You need to go through the typical grieving patterns that we've come to know first. And when you're left feeling empty and kind of lost inside, that's when my book will be helpful for you. And that's when you can learn the greater purpose for why you experienced the loss that you did.
Yeah, this was really written from the heart.
Yes.
It totally was. I picked that up immediately. And to help other people understand, like you say, you can't take away, the hurt and the sadness, but you can give an understanding that they're still with us and this is not it. And, nothing you can say can help that. But I love the part where you've grown to where you connect with your daughter and you talk to her every day.
Yes. Yes. And I want to say that sometimes we end a relationship with someone who's living, for example, in a divorce.
Yes.
The thing I've learned through my sessions is that our higher selves that we carry within can communicate with each other at night. Now, you may not be able to say certain things to say an estranged partner in life because there's too much baggage from the relationship, but your higher selves can communicate at night, and you actually can come to a much better place just while you're still here on earth, even though you don't communicate directly. And you do this by having loving, forgiving thoughts yourself, and then that can be communicated by your higher self at night to their higher self.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful information to tell people. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple other things. A lot of us have these soul contracts, and we come down. We make an agreement. Oh, well, we're going to come down and we're going to work on this stuff together, and it's a contract. And then one person fulfills it, and the other doesn't. What do you know about that?
We have free will when we come down here. We all made plans, and we made plans together
Right.
about how we would interact, i.e., soul contracts. But once we get down here, we have free will and we might not follow those plans. So if we don't, circumstances change. Our guides and angels do their best job to try and put us in another situation where we could learn some of the same things. So there's always learning available, but it might turn out to look a little differently than we thought it would.
Right. So if you have a soul contract with like a person and it doesn't work out, there's always backup. It's what you're
Yes.
saying. I love it. I love it. And I think it's interesting that they watch over us so well. And there are a lot of angels here down on earth. Did you know that, or do you know about us?
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that completely. And I've had the good fortune to have some of them help me with some of my more difficult cases.
Oh, you have. That's fabulous. So you're connected as well. I love that. That's fabulous. Now, is there another story or any other information that you feel is really important that the audience should know?
One of the things I want to say is that over the past 2 years with the pandemic, we've experienced tremendous loss.
Right.
And it's not just loss of a loved one that brings about all the emotions connected with loss. A lot of us have experienced loss of income, loss of our usual social lives, loss perhaps of a home, and loss of the connections that we depended upon.
Mhm.
And so there have been many losses. And so the information that I provide on loss applies to all these losses, not just to the loss of a loved one. We sometimes minimize other losses, but they can cause us just as much difficulty and pain as some of the other losses. And we should honor that and give ourselves the time to heal and the time to have maximum self-care as we would with loss of a loved one.
Yeah. And I just want to go back to that self-care thing. And thank you for saying that. What I've learned over the past year myself, and I just want to share this with you and the audience, is that, it used to be, oh, the more I get done, the better off I am. And the more I can accomplish and la, 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 la. But that's not how it is. It's better. What I've learned is to be more balanced and take care of yourself, because when you take care of yourself, you are more productive and there's no race. And I feel like we're all in this race, what can we accomplish today? What can we get done? It's not about that. We kind of have that backwards. It's more about taking care of us and bringing our vibration up, and then things seem to just go smoother. What do you think, Ann?
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. And I would say that we come with a lesson in mind. I've led a very active professional life, academically and professionally, but that wasn't why I came here. One of the lessons I came here to learn, I'm what you would call a helper or a fixer. I love to help other people, but the big lesson I had to learn was not to help beyond the point where others should be helping themselves, or help to the point that I neglected my own self-care. And I had learned that very well in my professional and my outer life, but I'd not yet learned it completely in my closest relationships. I'd not learned it yet with my daughter. And so all my professional work might have backed that up and helped a little bit. But unless I took the time to tune in to my inner guidance and really be present in my day-to-day life, I could have totally missed this lesson.
Thank you for saying that. What if somebody wants to meet with you? How do they get in touch with you?
My website is www.birminghamhypnosis.com.
And can you do these sessions on Zoom? Can you
Yes.
do stuff like that? Okay,
Yes,
that's fantastic. Okay, so you guys, if you want a session, so it's www.birmingham.com. Say it again.
www.birminghamhypnosis.
Okay.com. Fabulous. I'm so glad that you came on today. And you guys, her book is Healing from Great Loss. Have you had good response? I'm sure you have from the
Yes.
book. Have you? Okay. That's fantastic. You guys, if you want a psychic reading, go to my website, nancyyearout.com. I guess I'm calling them angel readings now. I do have some messages up there from Archangel Gabriel, if you guys want to read them. And I'm doing News with Nancy every Sunday. And you guys will find me on TikTok. I'm pulling angel cards every day on TikTok and having just a fun time doing it. So if you want to catch me there, you can. And it's been a pleasure. I'm so glad you came. I know you got another book in you.
I do.
Ha!
I already started it.
Oh, I knew it. I knew it. I hope you'll come back and see me again. Okay, fantastic. All right, awesome. You guys, again, it's called Healing from Great Loss, Facing Pain and Grief to Recover Your Authentic Self. It's by Ann J. Clark, PhD, RN. This is Nancy, you're out. This is High Road to Humanity. And we will see you next time. Hey, happy Chinese New Year. Take care. Bye-bye.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the higher road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.